Mrs. Sasha Stoutt, welcome to 284 Media.
Thank you for having us.
Tell me a little bit about your introduction. How did you stumble, for lack of a better word, onto the Family Support Network in leading the cause right now as the director, present director?
Well, actually, I first came to Tortola in 2010 and graduated from my studies away in school. And I came as a volunteer at the Family Support Network. Lauren Keel, at that time, was the director. And I enjoyed working with the staff. I enjoyed working with the clients. From there, my family at the time, their business was having, not difficulties, but their current operations manager took ill. And they asked me to step in, and I kind of withdrew. But I always kept my ear out for what FSN was doing and was always intrigued by the different things that they were doing to help the community and then assist the families.
Tell me a little bit about your background and your training.
Okay, I currently have a bachelor's in psychology. I'm currently finishing up my master's. I have had experience in New York. I worked at Safe Horizon in New York as a domestic violence shelter. It's actually throughout the tri-state area. There's one in Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and the Bronx. I was located in Brooklyn. At that shelter, it was 3 months. The women were there. They had to get their paperwork for their government so they could get into housing. These were women who were in all sorts of different domestic violence and domestic abusive situations, and they came there for shelter with their children. We did counseling. We advocated for them, and that was some of my experience that I had prior to working at FSN.
Now, the Family Support Network, Sasha, plays a very vital and huge role within our community, and a lot of persons might be under the misconception that it only caters to women. Mm-hmm. But Ms. Charles just mentioned earlier about men also benefiting. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, yes, that's one of the huge misconceptions that we have now. A lot of people think that FSN only caters to women. A lot of people think that only women can truly be victims of domestic violence or domestic abuse. And the reality is that's so false. We do have men that come to FSN. I would like to believe that there are probably a lot more men that are in domestic violence situation or domestic abusive situations, but given our society and the way we look at it, or the way we perceive men, they don't come forward as much. But FSN is very much there to support women and men who are victims of domestic violence and domestic abuse.
Are there any faces when you think of domestic violence? And I think a lot of persons sometimes feel as though you can't really pinpoint. In your training and your background and with working with the Family Support Network now, what scares you the most when it comes to the faces of domestic violence? What does that look like?
The faces of domestic violence, honestly, that's the issue. Domestic violence doesn't have a face. It doesn't have a socioeconomic class. It doesn't have ethnicity. It affects everyone. And that's part of the biggest misconception, that it only hurts that family. It only hurts this family. Domestic violence hurts everyone. Even people who are not a part of that nucleus, it still affects them. Last year, for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we went to different schools throughout the territory. And what I explained to the children is that domestic violence, though it does affect people in a household, it affects you by extension. You know, your mom comes home angry, your dad comes home angry, and he's upset and cranky, and you ask them what happened. Oh, my boss was just really mean today. They were really nasty with me today. And the child is like, okay, why? Well, if you think about it, what if your boss is a victim of domestic violence? They can't go home and beat up their spouse. The spouse is beating them up, or their spouse is being mean to them or financially abusing them, and they're stressed out. So they're gonna lash out, and it's gonna affect you. Thus it affects the father. Thus it affects their children, and it affects the community in whole. And that's what people don't understand. Domestic violence is a community issue. And that is why it's so important that as a community we come together and we try to address it. And we try to find ways to help people in these situations.
What can we as a community do? The average person, day to day, going around our regular lives, minding our business. We like to say that we're a Christian society, and many times people take on the oath where I see something, but I'm just not gonna speak about it. I'm gonna ignore it. But what can we as regular community citizens do in the fight against domestic violence?
I think a lot of times, we have inklings as a community. Things are happening and we go, okay, that's their business, not mine. I'm going to stay out of it. But sometimes I like to believe that if we had more of a community mindset where we hear something, yeah, it may not be your business, but you heard something. You have a right as a citizen. You hear something, it doesn't sound right, call the police. Listen, I don't know what's going on, but something sounds a little drastic next door. And yeah, as a community, we look at that and we go, Lord, they're going to cuss me. But if it were you, what would you want someone to do? A lot of times, yes, people who are in domestically violent situations, they don't want the assistance. They want to believe that they can fix it on their own. But at the same time, being a community-minded, being people of community-minded mentality, we should want to help. We shouldn't look at someone on the street starving the same way where you see someone there asking for $1. They're asking for food. You say, you know what, I'll go and get you something to eat. Why do we do that? Because we believe that it takes a community to help, that other people outside have to help. We used to believe that it takes a village to raise
Oftentimes we hear that. Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens when someone's getting a black eye, when someone's getting hurt? Why do we then turn the other cheek? Why do we ignore it?
Thank you. Tell me a little bit about the services, because FSN wears many hats, and we sometimes think it's one-dimensional, but you guys do quite a bit. Tell me about the services that you guys offer.
Okay, well, some of the services we offer are, as our director, our president mentioned, we have a food pantry where clients can come once a month and collect food. We have a thrift shop where they can buy clothing for a very minimal cost, or sometimes we give it for free depending on the situation. We also help and assist with protection orders. We also now currently have a breakfast program that was started in October of last year.
That feeds about 70 young persons.
Yes, 70 children. The way that program works, we initially went to the schools and we told them about it. We asked them to find 5 children to each school to let us know how we could assist them in terms of, let us know so that way we could assist them in terms of breakfast. Okay. And they did so. Some schools weren't able to locate children. They weren't comfortable. The parents said no. Mm-hmm. So we said, okay. We went back to the drawing board and we said, we have a certain amount of children. How can we extend ourselves and find more children? And as people came, we said, do you know of anyone? Tell them about us. Let them come in. They will do their normal. We always have people do an intake. They did their intake, and now we assist up to 70 kids, and it's growing. We've actually had to try to cap it off. We've had to cap it off right now because we're waiting for more assistance to keep it going so that we could help all of the children. We're only doing it through the school semester. So once it's Christmas, once they're off for summer, there's no food being distributed. But while they're in school, they will be able to access food. Okay. We also assist with an emergency shelter. Sometimes we have victims are in a situation that they need to get out. Their children need to get out of the home. It's really volatile. And we assist them with 5 days at a shelter so that they can have time to regroup and to figure out how they want to go forward. And those are some of the things that we do. We also do counseling, free counseling. A lot of people don't know that. As our president was saying, we do offer free counseling. And we do assist children, adults, teenagers, that just sometimes they're in domestically violent situations or domestic abuse, or they're questioning what kind of situation they're in. And sometimes it has nothing to do with domestic violence or abuse. Sometimes it's just they want someone to talk to. They want someone to bounce information off of. Okay.
We're in the year of 30. Yes. All right. It's quite an accomplishment. And the organization has grown from strength to strength. What's next for FSN?
Well, what we hope to accomplish at FSN is to keep our ears open and keep our eyes open in terms of the things that we see that are trends. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people that are having issues in terms of housing, in terms of being able to mend the gap between finances and being able to have somewhere to stay and being able to balance their budgets. So we're, in terms of our food pantry, we've been receiving a lot of assistance with that. We've been trying to figure out ways that we could assist people more in making sure that our pantry is always stocked and is always going. So the initiatives we want to do this year in terms of families, in terms of people hearing about us and bringing more awareness of FSN's existence is doing a family fun day towards the end of school. That's something we want to do. Just, kids, family come out, enjoy, keep them together. Give them things to do that are positive. We're always talking about kids out here doing this and doing that. Well, if we bring the families together and they get to have fun together, this creates memories, this creates a positive family experience, which is what I think FSN wants to do. And towards the end of the year for our October, that's usually our big month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we intend to have many different events going on. One is a commemoration service that will be with the Anglican Church. We're still in the process of getting that worked out. We have some other things that we want to do, possibly a march of a sort, just to bring awareness of domestic violence and the people who have been hurt or been victims of domestic violence, who have died as a result of domestically violent situations. And that's just some of the things that we have in mind. We're hoping to maybe do some kind of event, like a concert of some sort. But these are all things that are on the drawing board. But they're definitely things that I want you guys to look for, because FSN is going to make sure that 30 years will be something memorable.
Absolutely.
But it will be something that will just start the process and the ball rolling, because we intend to be here and
continue to be impactful.
Yes.
For persons out there who might want to make a donation of any sort or maybe reach out to the organization, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, we have our email address. You can contact us through our email, familysn1@yahoo.com. We also have a Facebook page that you can contact us through. We have a hotline. Our hotline is 499-0999. It's quite simple to remember. And you can just come by our office. We're located right there on Chowell Street of Midtown. We're there from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stoutt.
Thank you so much for having us.
When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast, unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages.